Hi, my name is Adam, and I'm going to talk about pen turn today. Why? Because we all need another pen turning video. But I'm going to take a different stance on mine. I'm going to start with the acquiring equipment and what you need to get started, and then work way up to pen turning. Now, I believe in being very cost conscious in this. If you're not sure you want to be in the hobby, or even if you are positive you want to do this, you don't have to buy everything all at once, nor do you have to go super high end. There are a few items where I think it's worth the money to spend for the higher end stuff now versus later, because they can be a one-time tool. What I mean by that is you buy them once, they last forever, you're constantly going to use it over and over again. Others are lower price enough, you can get away with using lower quality or whatever, you might get some frustration, but they're still doable. So from a cost perspective, let's talk about what you need to get started. Now I'm going to assume you have a lathe. I don't care what type, just gotta have a lathe. I'm assuming you also have some way of sharpening your tools, like a grinder or some other method. And you have some way of doing drilling, whether it's a drill press or a drill chuck in your lathe. I'm not going to get into those. I will talk about one of the helpers for drilling, but I'm not going to get into the larger tools. I'm going to stick more with those that are really distinct to pen turning. So first thing you're going to need is tools, gouges. You can get away with one gouge. I've done it myself many times. That's how I got started. It works. It's not ideal, but it works. This is a 3/4 inch spindle roughing gouge. You can get away with it. Ideally, what I do now when I'm dealing with wood is I'll use this and get it down to maybe within 15% of the final diameter. And then I'll switch to this 1/4 inch spindle gouge. Those are the minimums. These, once I ended up on these two, versus just having the spindle, the roughing gouge, things were great. Unbelievably great. I was much happier. We'll talk about more tools and how they, gouges and such, and how they can help you later on, but these are the minimum. Next thing, you need a pen blank. I highly recommend if you're starting, get wood. Go for cheap wood. Poplar, sandalwood, things like that. These things cost anywhere from $1 to $3 at your wood supplier, like Rockler or Woodcraft or some of these other catalogs. If you're in a wood turning club, which I highly recommend you should be, talk to some of the members there to see if they have a table saw or a chop saw and such, and buy just a board of wood and chop it down to the pieces you need. It is so much cheaper that way. A 3-foot board of bloodwood costs me maybe $8. I get about 20 blanks out of it. If I went to my stores and bought the blanks, that's $2 a blank. So I'm paying triple, quadruple what the cost is of the wood itself. It only took me 10 minutes to chop it down. Next thing you need, the pen kit. Depending on who your supplier is, they come in little baggies typically. Some have instructions in them, this does. Others don't. This is an older kit, I can tell, because it has the instructions. A lot of the vendors these days just have you download them, no big deal. The pen kit will have just the mechanicals and the pen tubes in there, not the wood, but the mechanicals and the tubes. I recommend buying 10 slim lines, 5, 10, whatever your number is. Slim lines are great to get started with. Slimline typically is just straight across. It's a 2-section pen. This is with the mechanicals installed and put together. So everything is generally equal across. They're great to get started on. Once you get your 10 kits, I recommend buying about 20 replacement tubes. They're the same whether they are the top or the bottom. The same tube in both. It's equal set lengths. Why? Have you ever seen a baseball pitcher just go cold? No, they start out by warming up. I haven't turned in a while, particularly pens. I'll just glue a bunch of blanks together with the tubes, and I'll just turn them down. My goal is not to make a pen with these. My goal is just to get the motions and the muscle memory going and technique back again. So why did I recommend some pen kits? Because you're going to find when you do some of these, they're going to come out really well, and you're going to want to make a few pens to keep for yourself or give away, right? So we've talked 2 basic tools. We've talked pen blank, talked pen kit. We've talked tubes. And like I said, it takes 2 tubes for some line. You need to cut these down the appropriate size. whether it's a chop saw, bandsaw, however you get it. And then you need to drill the holes so you can put the tube in. This is where I recommend my first going higher end. You can use those type of old wood screws that bust your chin as you open and close them. You can do all sorts of methods. I recommend a pen drilling vise, right? The tube, the blank, you cut it down, fits in, it's got notches to make it to hold a square blank. I have a drill press, I can come down, it holds it still, it works great. There are people who use drill chucks in their lathe, there are other methods. This particular one is not the best one out there, there are more better ones, more expensive, this works for me. But I find this, when I got this, previously I was trying to hold pens and drill them, I was trying to hold them with the wood clamps, like I said, you know, the chin busters, and I just had bad luck. This was a game changer. So I highly recommend, at the very beginning, getting one of these pen devices, whatever they're called for drilling. It's very much worth the money. You're going to need some type of glue to glue the tube into the blank. I use a super glue. The technical term is cyanoacrylate, shorthand is CA. This brand is Titebond, but there's so many other brands there. This one is thick, right? There's different viscosities. The viscosity will determine how quickly it cures the hardness and such. The thick works at filling a little bit of gaps, so if you're just a teeny oversized or whatever on your, the thick will fill it in. Not major oversized, teeny, like you just barely make it out. Otherwise, you didn't do a good job drilling and you need to fix that problem. To insert the tube, there's these little tube insertion devices. The tube sits on, you put your glue on it, and then you just insert it into the blank. Keeps your hand fairly clean. Could be cleaner. That does a pretty good job at it. For larger pens, like the Navigators, the Apollos, and some other things, this tapered shaft is just too small. So maybe you want, and I have never seen a bigger one. I've seen people make their own. That's something you can try and do if you want, or just what I do, even though it sits there, it just helps me get it in a little bit, but it's not as, like this is on there tight. It's easy to shove it into them. But since we're talking slimline right now, this is a great addition. You've got your pen tube into the blank. There's always going to be some slop. So there's things called pen mills. And what they are, this is, by the way, this is another one I recommend, a buy once type deal. It's a little bit pricier, but it comes with multiple sizes. They're replaceable. And what it is, it consists of two parts. You've got the piece, the shaft that goes in, and this cleans out, it's got a sharp edge here for drilling, any glue that's inside. And then this exterior, which goes on like this, you're cleaning up here, it cleans anything on the outside, and it also creates a square end. When I say square, I'm not talking as in the shape square, but you know, edges square, like on this bench, it's 90 degrees or close to it. So it fits on against your bushings and on your lathe nicely, so you don't make a mess and you know what you're doing, right sizes you're drilling down to, turning down to. So you heard me use a term, they're called bushing and some other things that are a term. You're going to need something called a pen mandrel. This is from Woodcraft, it's your basic mandrel. This end slides into your headstock, this goes up against your tailstock. Your blank with the tube sits on here, and there's a bushing right here that's glued on, and you put your next bushing on, then your tube, and another bushing, and then you screw this on, and you put this in your headstock, bring up your tailstock, tighten it down, and do your turning. This is a very basic one. It's not one I recommend in the long run, because if you do too much pressure at this end, it causes this to flex slightly, in which case you get out of round, and you've got some weird shape going on there. Sometimes noticeable, sometimes not. We'll discuss in the future videos some of the upgrades. But again, this is just good basic to get you started. The next item I think you need, gloves. Glue gets messy, you don't want to glue yourself together, use some gloves. You're going to do some turning, you're going to need lots of sandpaper, right? Nothing comes out perfect. Sanding helps you down. And finally, if you are going to use CA glue for your gluing your tubes in versus a polyurethane or epoxy, I highly recommend a respirator with a vapor cartridge. CA glue is one of those that gives off some really nasty fumes, and over time you actually build up a sensitivity to them. So the first once, twice, 3, 4 times, you can feel the burn, you can taste it a little bit. Over time it really gets to you. So if you're going to do CA glue, get a respirator with vapor cartridges to protect yourself, right? Your lungs are very important. You want to hopefully be doing this a long time. So that is the basic set. 2 gouges, pen blank, slimline pen kits, replacement tubes, some mechanism to hold the blank as you're drilling, some sort of glue to glue the tubes into the blanks, something to help you insert the tube into the blank, something to clean up the blank when you're done and all the glue hardens so you just have a nice good surface to work with, and then something to mount the tubes onto your lathe so that you can turn them. That is the basics. That's all you need to get started. You can probably even figure out somebody who's doing this in other ways. Pen turning is addictive. I call it my $1,000 hobby. Why? Because once you get into it, you're going to want different tools, different kits, different materials for blanks. You're going to get some high-end sanding equipment or buffing systems. That's assuming you're selling these things or giving away lots of them. I do a lot of them as gifts. Now, I didn't spend $1,000 in one shot. It took me a while to get there, but it's something you can easily end up doing. I just want to close out this video by saying, hey, this is what you need to get started, but if you are going to get started and do some of these things, read your manuals and your power tools, practice safe turning, and follow all the guidelines. There's 1,000 ways to do this. There's 1,000 ways to do it wrong. You have to find out what works for you. Just make sure you do it in a safe manner, and you're good to go. Next video will be upgrades you can get, a couple extra tools you can add on, a couple things you can do for your lathe, different mandrels, different types of sandpaper, and probably by the 3rd or 4th video we'll get into actually start making a pen. That's it for now. Catch you later.